Hey everyone, how are you? David Schwartzberg here. We are learning the Sefer Shomer Emunim, Derush HaBitachon, Perek Dalet. We have so far covered two classes, going to be starting the third today, and there'll be a few more upcoming classes on this Perek. We are connecting Emunah Lamaila, which is Bina, Bitachon, which is Tiferes, and Emunah Lamata, which is Malchus. We're showing you how they are very much connected. We're also showing you how Emes, Tamimus, and Bitachon are connected. And to really strengthen this idea, the Shomer Emunim shows us how Kabbalistically these are found to be very much connected in the Tiferes and in Psukim and Tanakh. We are starting today from the words Va'oid Muvasham. Now, before we even start, again, I'm using this newest edition of the Shomer Emunim. It has on the bottom a nice beer, and it tells us that before we can even move on, we need to cover 6 introductions. So, again, till now we were discussing, if you look at the board here, we were discussing Emunah L'maylo, which is Bino, the sphere of Bino, which is beyond our comprehension. We believe in Hashem because we believe in Him. And then how it connects to Bitachon, which is the Midah of Tiferes. That is what we discussed till now. Today's class, we're going to show you how Bitachon is connected to Emunah Lamata, which is the sphere of Malchus. Again, Emunah Lamaila is beyond our comprehension. Bitachon, Tiferes is we are thinking into how it makes sense that there's a B'Shefra and therefore we should trust in Him. And then Emunah Lamata, which is the lower level, is believing in Hashem just because your father told you. And his father told him. So you sort of accepted it as blind faith, but not really thinking into it. Now, how are these three connected, but also needed? So, till now, we quoted from the Sefer Shomer Emunim, one piece, and we're going to be quoting a second piece from the Shomer Emunim. Now, here is introduction number 1. We have the Esser Tiferes, starts from the top, Kesach Chachma Bina. It leads into the 6 midos here of Chesed, Tiferes, Gevura, Netzach, Yisoid, and that leads down to the bottom of Malchus. So everyone is being mashpia here, besides Malchus. Malchus is just receiving. Malchus is the Nekeva, the Mekabeles. And for example, if Chesed is giving over its Shefa downwards to, let's say, our world, it has to pass through Malchus. Malchus then is called Chasidah, because again, it doesn't have its own self. It takes on whatever sphere above it is giving downwards, and then the Malchus has what to give L'Tachtoinim, which is to us, to all the bottom worlds. That is introduction number 1. Introduction number 2 is the sphere of Tiferes is a balance, is the Meitzah, is the balance between the spheres, and it includes these 6. So Chesed, Tiferes, Gevura, Netzach, Yisoid is all included in Tiferes. Tiferes receives some Kesach Chachma Bina, and then it gives over from these 6 midos downwards to Malchus. So Tiferes is the connection between all these 10 spheres. That is introduction number 2. Introduction number 3 is that everything in this world comes from the spheres. Dava Gashmi, Dava Ruchni, it only exists in the world from the Esser spheres. Now, words also come from spheres. So, for example, the word Emunah, over here, Emunah, is connected to the sphere of Malchus. You have Emes. Emes is connected to the sphere of Tiferes. And let's take, for example, this word of Emes, right? Emes means the truth. So the letters of Emes, you have Aleph, which Aleph is the first letter in the Aleph base, Mem is the middle letter of the Aleph base, and Sof is the last letter of the Aleph base. So the word Emes includes a beginning, a middle, and at the end, sort of everything. And we said that Emes is connected to the sphere of Tiferes, because that's exactly what's going on in this midah of Tiferes. It is the beginning, because Kesach Chachma Bina is giving downwards into it. It's the middle because it's including the 6 midos in the middle, and then it's giving over down to Malchus, which is the end. So it's including everything together. So the words, Tevis, words also are very much connected to the spheres. That is the third introduction. The fourth introduction is that not only words are connected to the spheres, are coming from the spheres, but also letters. So for example, if you have a letter Dalid, Dalid is coming from the sphere of Malchus. Why? Because Dalid comes from the lashon of Dalav Aniyah. It's like a poor person. He's bent over, he's needy, he has nothing for himself, which is Malchus. Malchus doesn't have anything. It's just receiving from someone else. And for example, the letter Tuf is also connected and coming from the sphere of Malchus, because a Tuf is really two letters. A Tuf is the letter Dalid and a Nun put together, and therefore looks like a Sof. A Dalid that we just explained is like an Ani. It's receiving, so it's Malchus. And a Nun also, if you look at a Nun that's looped over on the top and looped over on the bottom, is also the same idea and is also connected and coming from the sphere of Malchus. Okay, that's the fourth introduction. The fifth introduction are the words Emes ve'Emunah that we say at night at the end of Krias Shema. Emes, we know, is the sphere of Tiferes. Emunah is the sphere of Malchus. And like we explained earlier, Malchus takes on wherever the Shefa is coming from. So let's say Chesed is sending down its Shefa, so then Malchus will receive it and will now be called Chasidah. Now, Emunah, again, is on the receiving end. That's the Malchus. It's on the receiving end. So that's the Nekeva. Where's the Zachar? Who's the Zachar? What's his name? It would be Amein, right? Amein. Now, so it means Amein is the sphere of Tiferes, but we know also that the sphere of Tiferes is also called Emes. So Emes and Amein, which is again the Pirush of Amein, is Emes, is the Tiferes, which is leading down into Emunah, which is the Nekeva part of the Zachar. Again, we're going to explain this more in depth as we go on. Let's start now from the top of the Sefer where it says Va'oid. Va'oid Muvasham, again referring to the Shari Gan Eden. This is the second piece of Shari Gan Eden that we're quoting. B'soid Emunah ve'Amein v'zel l'shoynei. Da ki Emes mishyached be'Emunah. Emes is misyached with Emunah. Emes, which is the sphere of Tiferes, is connected with Emunah, which is rooted in the sphere of Malchus. For when Malchus, Emunah, receives from Tiferes, from Emunah, they're now connected. B'soid shalaim Emes ve'Emunah v'chulu, in the soy that we say at night by Marav, Emes ve'Emunah. V'hinei, milas Amein, hu k'may milas Emes. Really, we should be calling it Amein ve'Emunah, because Emunah is the Nekeva part. It's receiving. Who's it receiving from? Who's the Zach? What's the name? It should be called really Amein. So he says here that Amein is really the same as the word Emes. Rak, Shatov mischalefes benom. What's the difference between the word Emes and the word Amein? Just the last letter. That the Tov is being swapped with the Nun. Ki Tov, Reimes beside Kabbalastic Malmala. Explains the Shari Gan Eden that the Tov at the last letter in the word Emes, that Tov is representing Malchus receiving from something above it. Like we explained in one of the introductions earlier, that the Tov is really a Dal and a Nun together. It's representing a poor person, someone that's receiving. It's representing Malchus. It's representing when the Malchus is receiving from above it. The Hanun Pshuto, again, the last letter in the word Amein, Reimes Bispashto Lamato, that is representing when Malchus, yes, when it receives, but when it's giving over further down to the bottom worlds. And let's just scoot over back to the board here. So you have here Emes, which is rooted in the sphere of Tiferes, and you have the word Amein. So Amein and Emes is the same. What's the difference? It's the last letter. The endonun and the sof is being swapped. Now, the tof, like we explained, is really a dalit and a nun together. It represents a poor person that's receiving. Malchus that's receiving from above it. So that's why it's more proper to use the word emes ve'emunah, because it's in the stage of where Malchus is receiving, where Emunah is receiving from Emes. Whereas Amein is the Malchus receiving, but also giving over down to the Tachtonim, to the bottom worlds. So in this stage of where Emunah is receiving from above it, it would make more sense to say the word Emes ve'Emunah. Okay, let's continue on. V'hinei, soid Amein, hu soid yichud shnei shemois havaya and adna. We know based on the Zohar that the name of Hashem Havaya is Tiferes, and the name of Hashem Adna is referring to the sphere of Malchus. Now, back to the board here for a second. If you take the word Amein and you add it up, what do you have? You have 91. If you take the two names of Hashem, Havaya and Adna, you have 91. So Amein equals the two names of Hashem, Havaya and Adna. Kiyadua, Heim Soid Vav Hei. Like we explained once in an earlier class, that Havaya, you have the Hei, Vav, Yud, and the Hei. So the way it's broken down is that the Yud refers to the sphere of Chachma, the first Hei is referring to the sphere of Bina, the Vav refers to Tiferes, and the Hei refers to Malchus. So if you take out the Vav and the Hei, you have again Tiferes and Malchus. So again, Kiyadua, Heim Soid Vav Hei, Hare Emunah. Because you have Amein, which, like we explained, Amein is equal to the two names of Hashem, Havai and Adna, which is Tiferes and Malchus. And then you have the two remaining letters, the Vav and the Hei, which again refers to the Vav is Tiferes, the Hei is Malchus. So you have Tiferes and Malchus together, Hare Emunah. So if that's the case, so then why not say Amein ve'Emunah? Why are we saying Emes ve'Emunah? So he explains, Rak shemilas Emunah mikabeles roimeis kishihi biyichud ima Emes. If you want to represent Malchus in the stage of when it's receiving from what's above it, from Tiferes, then it will be proper to use the word Emes. That's the yichud between the Malchus and the Tiferes, between the Emunah and the Emes, at that point when it's receiving. Oz he besoid nun kfufa, then it would make sense to have the nun kfufa, which is looped on top, looped on bottom, in the word Emunah, because that's when it's mikabeles, that's when it's receiving from Tiferes. Shehu kemoi beis kibo balmalo, because the nun that's looped on top and bottom is like a kli. It's like a handle to a kli, which is receiving. We continue. It says in Mishlei, we say every Friday night, Eishes Chayil, she gets up while it's still night, and gives food to her household. And we know Eishes Chayil is connected, refers to the sphere of Malchus, because the Isha is like we're explaining, is Malchus, is on the receiving end. Va'ozhi b'soid nun pshuto. That's when it's in the soid of a endanun, a long nun. Like we explained, that when you have the nun pshuto, which is the last letter in Amein, that's when the Malchus is not only receiving, but already giving over to the Alamais Tachtonim, which is our world. It's like the mother, it's like the wife that's receiving from her husband and then giving to her children. It's already the next stage. She receives and gives. That's Amein, that's the Num Shuta. Whereas Emes, the Sof, is when the Malchus is receiving at that point and staying right there. Okay, we're going to stop here at this class, and In the next class, we're going to continue on where it says Mikol Eila Rinu Shemes Emunah Bitachon. We'll see you next class. All right.